Here's a question for you. It's 2022. You look at the crypto charts and what's at number one? It is Bitcoin. So the question I have for you is, how did Bitcoin win?
I'm going back up to make my last stand. I'm gonna dust it off with my own hands. Black blizzard coming. Oh man, keep running.
This is like one strip of sand.
What are you gonna beat?
Not this small.
St. Kitts and Nevis, one of the biggest crypto capitals of the entire world. And you can't tell me this isn't beautiful. This is the Atlantic side, by the way. You can tell based on how much more aggressive the water is, and I don't want to get wet. Absolutely gorgeous here. So there's a book you've probably read. It's called The Bitcoin Standard, written by Saifedean Ammous. But basically what it boiled down to is his argument about what money is the best money. Everything is competing to be money. This crumpled up old water bottle is competing to be money against the US dollar bill, against a diamond, against gold, against Bitcoin, against leaves on a tree. Everything is competing to be money. Anything potentially could be used as currency. Of course, certain things are better than others. You wouldn't necessarily want to use leaves from a tree as your currency because guess what? They grow. And as more grows, your money would be worth less and less. And on top of that, they rot. They're kind of hard to send over the internet. There's a lot of properties of tree leaves that make it bad as money, but theoretically it could be. But his point is that the majority of wealth on the planet will be concentrated into the hands of the people who are using the hardest, most sound form of money. In other words, if we have a society where 90% of the people decide that using leaves from a tree is the best form of currency, it doesn't matter if leaves from a tree have the highest market cap. The price doesn't really matter. But over time, according to Saifedean and his argument that he makes in the Bitcoin Standard, the people who choose the harder form of currency will be the ones who concentrate most of the wealth. Now, I don't know how long that will take. That could be a few days, few weeks, few months, few years, few decades, few centuries. But at some point, the people that choose the best form of money will be rewarded. Let's go back to our good friend, gold. Before we invented metalsmithing, probably wasn't the best form of money because it was still in ore. The technology wasn't there for us to really be able to access the value of gold as money. But as time progressed, gold became a better form of money. So as technology improves, as time goes on, some things become better or worse as money, which is why you should never look at what's been used as money over the past 10 years, 5 years, 1 year, 1 week. Instead, what you should look at is what is the best money right now based on the time, based on the technology available today. This pine tree reminds me of being back in New Jersey. Evergreen, what is it doing here in St. Kitts? Bitcoin was created in 2009. And in 2010, just a year later, the first purchase was made with Bitcoin. 10,000 Bitcoins were spent to buy some pizza for $40 US. And considering that Bitcoin only had 21 million units, you could do the math yourself and find out how abysmal the Bitcoin price was performing. Also, a little side note, there's something called Bitcoin Pizza Day to celebrate the first time that Bitcoin was used as money, where you can buy pizza. The funny part is when you go to their website, they do not accept Bitcoin. Here's the main question. If the price of Bitcoin at that time was so bad, was so low, why would people like Roger Ver be so crazy to put their money into something like Bitcoin? What is the best thing to put your money in to become a currency for the future? We already know that it's not based on price, because if it was, you would have never put your money in Bitcoin when Bitcoin was brand new, because it wasn't worth very much. What is the hardest version of money that could possibly exist right now in 2022 based on the technology, based on the fundamentals? Well, to answer that question, first we need to define what are the characteristics of sound money. Oops. Once we know that, we can look at the options that exist in the market right now. We can examine things like gold, fiat currency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Shiba, Bitcoin Cash, seashells, glass beads. We can put them all through the ringer and see what is the hardest currency, what works the best as money. And you know what? If you did that, and you did it honestly, back in 2010, back in 2009, back in 2011, you, my friend, would probably be one of the richest people in the world because you took the time to actually do your homework, sit down and think through the logic. The thing is, when you're tied to something emotionally, it makes it very difficult to have an honest discussion about it. It's easy to get lost in the marketing and the hype, especially when the thing you like the most is the thing that's performing the best.
Got ice cream.
Oh, it's ice cream. This is the peak of St. Kitts and Nevis. It's where you come up to get beautiful views of everything. And the cruises are in today, so of course there's tons and tons of people, but I've never seen this many. It's like there's 1,000 buses here. They set up little booths to buy ice cream and beer and food, and people have monkeys that sit on your shoulder. Here to illustrate the next point in my video, it's full. There's 1,000 buses, but I found one spot where you can get a background view, and there's no one walking around or walking in front of me. Except for her. If you're gonna choose a currency, as we've seen with Bitcoin being chosen, 2009, 10, etc., you don't do it based on the price of the object. So I came up with a fun idea. Let's come up with our own country. It could be like this, some island in the Caribbean. And the first task that we have to do as the governing body of Marktopia is choose what we're gonna use as our currency. Now, it doesn't matter what was being used where we come from. It doesn't matter what other people use. We're gonna get to decide what we want. So what are we going to choose? We're gonna choose what's available based on where we are right now in time, based on the current technology that we have, based on what's around us. We could, for example, choose rocks, or we can go ahead and choose shells, or we could go ahead and choose all of the rubber and plastic bits that were thrown on the side of the road. Well, we also have computers, so we could choose a cryptocurrency. We're not in the 1800s, we're not in 1920, we're not in the year 2000, we're not even in the year 2017. So we're gonna choose what's available to us right here, right now, in the present time. So to that end, I put together a list of 10 things, 10 properties that we want our currency to have in order to be a decent currency for our beautiful island. Okay, all right, so now I'm gonna pay. There we go. Okay, now I'll send a tip.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. All right, let's go drink, Joe. So if we're gonna pick a new currency, what are the properties that we want that currency to have? Well, I've come up with a list of 10. First, we want it to be decentralized. No one individual like Putin can come in and destroy the value like we saw with the ruble. 2, we want it to be fungible. Fungibility means that one unit is the same as one unit. Bitcoin is not an example of a fungible cryptocurrency. The reason is coins can be tracked. There's extra property on a coin that makes one Bitcoin less or more value than another Bitcoin. To give a specific example, there are Bitcoins that you cannot use on exchanges because they've been flagged, they've been tracked. 3, we want our currency to be scalable, meaning you can group it into larger pieces or break it into smaller pieces. The Mona Lisa is worth a lot of money. It has a lot of buying power. You could trade the Mona Lisa for pretty much anything else in the world, but the problem with using the Mona Lisa as the currency of the world is you can't exactly break it into smaller pieces. In fact, if you do, you eradicate all the value it had. The 4th property that we want, positive feedback. For example, as all other properties of the currency, all 10 that I'm getting through in this list, the more people that use it, all 10 of those actually get stronger instead of weaker. This is also known as the network effect. For example, the fungibility. The more users and the more popular Bitcoin has become, the less fungibility it's had. 5, we want a good stock to flow ratio. This means the pre-existing stock is smaller than the flow of new stock coming in. Our 6th property is DeFi. We want to choose a currency for our country that has decentralized finance. That way we can do our loans, we can do leverage, we can do all the things in the financial world we want without relying on a central bank. Number 7, we want usability. Can you easily give it from person A to person B? Moving into point 8, we want our currency to be low fee for 2 reasons. First off, I'm not saying no fee, because you want profitability for people to process the transactions. But if it's too expensive and you have high fees, then you have a big problem. And that's the same problem we saw in 2017, where the fees of Bitcoin got so high that adoption merchants that were using it as currency dropped it. We don't want to prevent people in third world countries from using our currency. We want everyone in the world to be able to use the currency that we come up with. Number 9, we want it to be censorship resistant. We don't want individual parties, companies, or groups of people to be able to decide who and who cannot participate. That makes obvious sense. We see that with Kyle Rittenhouse, with the Canadian truckers, but we also see that in the world of cryptocurrency. There are posts bragging about the fact that their network is able, willing, and already has excluded people from participating in it. For example, here's a post on r/Bitcoin showing that a node named Roger Ver has been excluded from the network. We don't want that. And 10, we want simplicity. We don't want to have to use a currency that's too complex to use. We don't want to use a currency that requires you to use another currency to use that currency. We don't want to take our money and convert it into a different type of money to be able to use it just to convert it to a different type of money to be able to cash it out. It's like Christmas in a bottle. All right, let's go.
Welcome to Spice. They make their own rum here with hibiscus. Am I talking too slow? I mean too low.
This place is called the Spice Mill. It's one of the Bitcoin Cash accepting businesses here in St. Kitts and Nevis. That's not saying much because most places here accept Bitcoin Cash, but yeah, this is another one of them. Gold was great, and yet people irrationally, for whatever reason, whether it was governmental force or whether it was people just being ignorant and not understanding the economics of fiat currency, people used for what, 50, 70 years fiat currency. Even today, people are still using these things, which are arguably some of the worst currency that humanity has ever used. People will use things that just don't work very well as money. And frankly, they get punished for it. It might take a long time. In fact, it might be longer than your lifetime. As we move forward into crypto, it could be that the wrong cryptocurrency is chosen as the world's currency. It could be that we choose a currency that gets all of these things wrong, and maybe that currency lasts for a little while. But as time goes on, people that use that currency, people that put their money, their time, and their effort into it will likely be punished. In cryptocurrency now, people will choose whatever has the best marketing, but over time, in my opinion, the currencies that will win, the technologies that will win are the ones that work best as money. And this isn't just about cryptocurrency. This is about currency in general. Over time, the hardest currencies, the most sound currencies will be used. In fact, this is something that Saifedean Ammous in his book, The Bitcoin Standard, bluntly says. Right now in the world, there's about 106 million people using cryptocurrency. The race hasn't even started. The marketplace of what is the best currency is always going to be reevaluated. There's always going to be competition. And what solves these 10 points best will ultimately have the best chance of becoming the currency, even if there are periods of time where the objectively worst crypto is chosen. The market decided that these would be better than gold. That was wrong. And people and families that jumped into fiat have been severely punished. Anyone who had the same gold tokens that they had 200 years ago, families, the generations over time, are the most rewarded now. And people who said, all right, well, the market has decided that fiat is the best currency, have been generationally, relatively speaking to gold, destroyed.
I'm eating. It's so hot.
Okay, $5. Thank you. Yep, hey, take care. There you go. You can actually use this easily, person to person, without having to move your money to layers, without having to do any kind of dangerous or scary or weird stuff. The fee is less than a fraction of a penny. Yeah, it's nice to be able to send a tip without having to worry. This is sort of our battle, and as fun and goofy as this is, it does represent a really important point. So let's start with gold. How does gold stack up as sound, hard money? Decentralized, yes. Fungible, yes. Scalable, yes. 4, the positive feedback loop. Does it get stronger in all 10 points if more and more people use it? And the answer to that is no, and we'll talk about why soon. 5, is it hard to inflate? Yes. So we'll give that a yes, but with an asterisk. 6, DeFi. Does it have smart contracts? No. 7, usability. Is it easy to get from one person to another? And the answer to that is no. Definitely not. It's a pain in the neck to transport gold, especially large amounts, from one place to another. 8, low fee. Is it low fee to use? Practically speaking, no, because you're going to need to pay for vaults, security guards, armored trucks, all of that stuff, and just bringing it around is extremely risky, so it is not low fee. 9, is it resistant to censorship? The answer to that is, I thought it would be yes. It's actually a yes with an asterisk again, because we saw it got censored. The government actually forced people to give up their gold reserves and gave them fiat currency, so that could happen again. So yes, but potentially censorable. 10, is it simple? And the answer to that is yeah, it's pretty simple with an asterisk. Problem is, again, dealing with the logistics of gold make it not very simple to use. That's why people got coupons for their gold from banks and how all this fiat craziness happened to begin with. It happened because gold is not very useful in our 10th category. Okay, speaking of fiat, let's go to fiat and run it through our 10 points of what makes something sound money. 1, is it decentralized? Absolutely not. That is a no. It is not decentralized. 2, is it fungible? And the answer to that is maybe. I say that because if you have a $5 bill in your hand, sure, that's fungible. But once you try to use fiat currency on the internet by sending money, credit card, all these things, definitely not. So actually, I'm just gonna say flat out, no, it's not fungible. 3, is it scalable? Can it break into smaller pieces or be put into bigger pieces? And the answer to that is yes. 4, does it have a positive feedback loop? More people using it actually makes it less decentralized, actually makes it worse to use. 5, is it hard to inflate? The answer is absolutely not. 6, DeFi. No. 7, is it easy to get from one person to another? And the answer to that is yes with an asterisk. Cash, yes it is, but if I try to send you cash, I have to go through all these hoops. I have to KYC, I have to go through bank, who is this, dox myself to send money on Zelle? No. 8, low fee, is it low fee? The answer to that is absolutely not, because you're paying taxes to get your centralized currency. Definitely not low fee. 9, is it censorship resistant? No, definitely not. You're gonna be censored just like Kyle Rittenhouse, just like the Canadian truckers. No, you're gonna be censored completely. And 10, is it simple? I would say it is. I would say it's a simple thing. You get $5, you use your $5. Now let's get into Bitcoin. This one will be fun. I'm not gonna be talking about Lightning. We'll talk about that later. We'll talk specifically about Bitcoin. So is Bitcoin decentralized? Number 1, I would say yes. 2, is it fungible? The answer to that is absolutely not. People are able to track your Bitcoin, and some exchanges, some apps will not let you use Bitcoins that have been tainted, that are dirty. So therefore, you can't exchange one Bitcoin for another Bitcoin and have the same value. Some Bitcoin is worth less than other. 3, is it scalable? Can you break it into bigger and smaller pieces? And the answer to that is yes, with an asterisk. Yes, you can send large amounts of Bitcoin, you can send small amounts of Bitcoin, but because the fees are so high, there's a limit where if you try to send a smaller amount of Bitcoin, your fee will be more than the Bitcoin you're sending. 4, does it have a positive feedback loop? Yes and no, but mostly no. It does become more decentralized, but the fees become more of an issue. In some elements, it has gotten stronger, but by and large, as a currency, it's gotten weaker and weaker as more people have used it because, again, of the fees, the fungibility, and some other aspects that we're going to talk about soon. 5, is it hard to inflate? Stock to flow. Can inflate it. Stock to flow is A+. 6, DeFi. Does it have smart contracts? The answer to that is a resounding, deafening no. It's why Ethereum has come and completely demolished it over the past year. 7, usability. Can you easily give it from one person to another? The answer to that is yes, with an asterisk. Again, you can give it easily from one person to another, assuming you're rich enough to afford the fee. And if you're 90% of the world, you don't fall into that camp. So this is mainly no with an asterisk, actually. And Actually, I am going to change it to a no because of something called change by fee. Bitcoin allows you, as shocking as this sounds, and this is not a bug, it's a feature, Bitcoin allows you to send money somewhere, change the fee, and then reroute the money somewhere else. You can actually go somewhere, buy a car for $10,000. If they're not sophisticated enough to know that they need to wait for multiple confirmations, you can show them on the phone the money sent, walk out, take the car that you've basically stolen from them, and change the fee and send it back to yourself. So no, we're gonna put that as a no. 9, censorability. Can you be censored on Bitcoin? The answer to that is no. Once we start talking about Lightning, you'll see that it changes, but Bitcoin itself, no, not censorable. And 10, is Bitcoin simple? Well, Bitcoin is simple. Yes. Some of the solutions to fix the inherent problems of Bitcoin that we've gone over. Is Bitcoin simple? I would say yes. Back in 2009, if you were to compare Bitcoin to fiat, you would say, hey, Bitcoin is a huge improvement. It makes sense as sound money. And that's exactly what Roger Ver and all of these early Bitcoin investors saw. If you were looking at Bitcoin back then, you would have missed the boat if you were looking at things that really aren't relevant to something being sound money or not, such as the market cap. That has no bearing whatsoever on whether something works as sound money. And again, if you believe what Saifedean Ammous said, that eventually sound money and hard money will win, then you know that Bitcoin was the right choice in 2009. But here's the thing, it's not 2009. It's not 2010, it's 2022. And we need, and technology has gotten so fast that you can be left in the dust if you're not paying attention. So let's go ahead and look at some other things, some other currencies, and see what the deal is with them. In fact, we'll look at one of my favorites, Bitcoin Cash, and we'll run it through the same ringer. 1, is Bitcoin Cash decentralized? Yes, just like Bitcoin. 2, fungible. Yes, with an asterisk. Theoretically, anyone could start tracking Bitcoin Cash just like they did with Bitcoin, but here's the thing. Because the fees, which we'll talk about soon, are so incredibly low with Bitcoin Cash, you're able to do coin shuffle. You're able to mix up the coins. Imagine you and your friends took $1,000 each, you turned it into pennies, and then you partnered with 100 other people and combined and mixed up all your pennies and paid out. And you did that thousands of times. The fees with Bitcoin Cash are so low that you're able to make them fungible. 3, scalable. Yes, completely scalable, down to fractions of a penny. 4, does it have a positive feedback loop? Does it get stronger on all 10 points the more people who use it? And maybe this point should have been at the end, but the answer to this is yes. And I'll show you why. Is it hard? Stock to flow ratio? Yep, same as Bitcoin, yes. DeFi, does it do smart contracts? Yes, it does. As of now, Smart BCH can do everything Ethereum can do, everything for a fraction of the amount. You don't need to pay $50 in gas fees, you can pay a 20th of a penny. Usability, can you easily give it from one person to another? Yes, undisputed. 8, is it low fee? Yes, undisputed. 9, is it censorable? Just like Bitcoin, the answer to that is no. And 10, is it simple? Yes. Undisputed, completely simple. Unlike Bitcoin that requires multiple layers, Bitcoin Cash just works. Anyone can use it. In fact, in my YouTube channel, you've seen that plenty of times. Now again, we can run every single cryptocurrency through this list, but the simple fact is, and this isn't a matter of my allegiance to a cryptocurrency, and again, you need to divorce yourself through what you think and what you like. The facts are pretty clear. When it comes to what is most sound as money, Bitcoin Cash in this moment of time blows away everything. This isn't to talk poorly of Bitcoin or Shiba or Doge or whatever coin is your personal favorite. I think it's great. I think in the short term, you should put your money in whatever you want. Follow YouTubers who tell you how to invest. That's not my thing. I don't care about that. If you're going to put your money into something, it's important to understand what that thing is and to understand the fundamental properties of it. Because if you do, and you're honest about it, and you're not swayed by marketing, and you're not swayed by your own greed, you might find the thing that you're putting your money in doesn't function the way that you think it does. If you wanted to put your money into a car company, if you wanted to invest in one, it's probably a good idea, 1, that you know what a car is, 2, that you've driven in a car before, 3, you've driven a car before, and 4, you've driven the car of the company you want to put money into. If you've done all that, it gives you a better understanding of what car companies have the best chance of being successful in the future, for being the car company that people use, people buy. With cryptocurrency, that's especially important. Sure, if you want to put money in something that's going to moon, it's going to go up in value, it's going to be a speculative asset, look, I can't help you because I don't know anything about that. But if you're going to put your money in something because you believe it's going to be the currency of the future, it's the most sound money that could possibly exist, then you better know what makes something sound money. And you better understand that the price of an object doesn't relate to whether something is fundamentally sound or not sound. It only relates to whether people have discovered it or not.
Two star-crossed lovers in the still melting snow, where the loving was easy and the courting was brief. There they called her a beauty, they called him